that's a very specific thing to me. That as I was just kind of walking through the process of what is this going to look like, it was that.
Yeah, I like it. That's really.
And it falls in line with being very simple too. Everything we do is simple, and we try to do that on purpose, because I was at Churchill. They had their discipleship pathway was like a train station. So you start here, you get off, do your thing, get back on, get here, get off. Like, that's confusing, and people don't want to. That's just really confusing. Let me go grab that photo for you real quick. But
we talk about this as part of our presentation, is how you do not use traditional language, because the people that you are reaching out to have probably not grown up in the church.
Right.
Some may, but most of them are not familiar with stewardship. Some of them aren't familiar with some of the terminology that we've grown up with and we use. And how do you feel when you walk into a church setting and you're unfamiliar with what they're talking about? You're not part of the group.
Right.
You're left out.
Concept like growing, giving, gratitude.
Right, and look at what he's using, 3G. That's what everybody talks about now. You don't even name titles anymore.
Right.
The first thing, this is not a really good, but I hope you're not really, I'm on audio, jeez. But anyway, what I'm talking about is instead of having a whole title, they just use the first initial of each word, to identify, and that's kind of, you're into what's happening now, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's a matter of simplifying it.
Yeah.
It's a matter of, if I went up to somebody and like to say, they would understand what a small group was, or they would understand what a Bible study is. I don't even, to be honest, I just put study. I don't even put Bible study. That's just again being sensitive in language. Of course, we're studying the Bible. But it's not like we're coming. Bible study has even a tone to it. You know what I mean? That some people could get a little thrown off by. If you say study though, it's not just going to be this. Let's open your Bibles to Acts chapter 1, and we're going to go through the entire book of Acts over the next whatever weeks. But it's like, hey, you can bring your questions. You can bring your suggestions and your thoughts on what you think, and we can have a conversation about it. And that's really what we're trying to promote. Is we're not. It's not because we're trying to not fit in with the traditional church. It's more that we're just trying to be sensitive to the fact that not everybody knows what fellowship is. I don't want to do that. What is that?
You had a word for that. No, community.
Right?
Community.
And it's almost a joke, because if somebody says fellowship, they'll stop themselves. And they'll say, no, I mean community, because it's been just put out that way, that this is what we do, and so 3G community, we didn't want to say the life groups and the this and that, that's all good stuff, but we try to be original in everything too. I know a lot of churches share stuff. I try to be as original as possible. I don't know of anybody that does anything like that. And there'll be 1,000 questions about that, but that's what we want. We want people to say, what in the world does that mean? And we can talk about that. So the question mark, obviously it means questions. Hey, we're going to have a time where you can come eat lunch with us, and we can talk through these things and be very, very specific about it. What's 3G community? It's the heart. You know what I mean? It's that's the heart of who we are. That's the focus on what we do, and that's what we want to do. What's the logo? Well, that's the church. Obviously, the church is a big part of what we're doing. What's the light bulb? The light bulb is the studies that we're going to take part in, and it's going to be the spiritual gifts that you're going to discover, and obviously the cross, represents discipleship, going out serving other people, because that was the ultimate act of sacrifice and service to us, was that Jesus died on the cross, and so we need to respond in a healthy way to go forward and serve others. So, I just love the fact that when somebody looks at that, it's not like, oh, you're in train station A, now let's get to train station B, but that it's like, hey, you're learning a lot in the process, and so just trying to be really intentional. And she's even drawing a piece of artwork to put up, so we'll have that hanging on our walls, and so people will kind of have that at the front of their minds too. So,
Well, one thing before we resume on the discussion questions, is it simplistic? You say something, you know what it means. It's not like you've got to carry baggage with you from
Right.
from saying things. But to me, it all sounds authentic. You know, it's real because it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we've talked a lot about the authentic church and how that really appeals to people because they're not interested necessarily in process. They're not interested necessarily in, learning a lot of stuff. But what do they do with it?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So this
Yeah.
is, to me, I think all of this says authentic church to me. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's,
I don't know, you've answered so many of these questions on our page 4, but the mission of the United Methodist Church is making disciples for the transformation of the world, and the following questions relate to our faith commitment as United Methodist disciples of Jesus who desire holy transformation for the world, and we do this from our local headquarters for ministry. And I think you answered a lot of these questions. You are how many years into this ministry? And I heard you say you started in 2011 with the initial start of it. And so that answers that. And we know that it is working. And you also answered what changes in the original concept have been made. You've answered all of this. Knowing what you know now, what should have been done differently at the outset. I think you answered that too. I mean, guys, if you disagree with any of my assumptions, then please join in. Do you foresee any future changes in this ministry concept to enhance its effectiveness?
I think that it's always really changing. I mean, ministry's always evolving, changing. As far as in the future, I think that we definitely have some audacious goals. Definitely things that we're really focusing on. Things that we're being intentional on reaching. We have a goal of 300 people, 2 campuses, and 60% of people in small groups by the end of 2017. And this just shows you the heart of the people at our church. Like, oh, I think we can get to 300 people by the end of 2016. Just because they believe that. But it's an attainable goal, and that's sort of what we're shooting for. So as far as future goes, I think that we're always going to have to shift and change things. One of the concepts that I teach here is that there are some things that need to die, be celebrated, so that something else can be resurrected and started and made new. And so that's really what we are really focusing on is some things just need to just go away, and we'll celebrate them, and what's new. Don't try to bring things back that don't need to be brought back. Focus on what's coming, what's next.
Well, like you said, one thing that struck me was how, you miss, or sometimes people miss, the intimacy they had with you in the early days, but yet they're still being equipped to have that same intimacy with others and sharing it. So it's a different dimension, but like you said, you can't be all things to all people at 3 in the morning getting texts and everything
Absolutely.
else. I think that's important. That's a great way to phrase it.
Yeah, and it's plugging people in with other people too, and I mean it's an unhealthy model for you to be the only person. That's just unhealthy, both spiritually and physically. I mean that's an unhealthy thing. So
you can stop looking at me.
I love it.
He's giving me the
eye. Huh?
Are you listening? Face. I think I do, but I think, again, you've answered this. Do you think your ministry equips persons for the larger mission? And I think you've discussed that and the how. Do people connect their new configuration to mission? And I believe they do. You shared that with some of the things that you're doing, but
and
you can add anything to that.
Our process really promotes that. It almost demands it. That's sort of a strong word, but it really does force that to happen.
Well, and you said the 3G process is
that's
okay.
all.
I'm in 3G for the next 10 years. It's like, okay, we want you to grow. We want you to, ultimately go out and serve. So there's intentionality about it, but there's also a purpose to it. So
absolutely.
that purpose isn't just, okay, now I'm in.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Last question on that page is, has any new sense of engagement with the local or larger community emerged? And I think you've mentioned that. One of the things you mentioned off camera, was the, I've got it written down, so I'll be right, I think it was Safe House.
Yeah.
I wanted you to share that with our colleagues about the Safe House, some of the people that you minister to that are marginalized.
Yeah. We there's the residential treatment facility in our area called Safe House, and Bob Denon, who is Andy Denon, who runs Refuge and is our executive pastor. His dad runs that, and so they come on Sunday mornings, and a lot of them are in the system, in the foster care system. Some of them are even there just because of behavioral issues, but some of them are there because they just don't, they're awaiting adoption or awaiting foster. And a lot of them have behavioral issues and different things like that, and so they come on a weekly basis. We have, and I shared this a little bit earlier, but we also have a large group of people who are recovering, or who think they're recovering, and still struggling with that. That attend as well, and so we get to reach out to them. Really close connection with our rescue mission in our area. Do a lot of work with the homeless and with them in our area as well. And so I think that as far as community engagement, you can just look at our congregation and you'll see where we've engaged with our community. And definitely a lot of single parents. That's another group that we tend to have sort of be a part of us. But at the same time, we also have couples that have been together for 30 years, and couples that have been together for 4 and on their second child, and so I mean it's a wide variety of people. But I think our context and our environment kind of promotes a very comfortable and a feeling, and very at home. And like I said earlier, I don't know if I said it yet in the taped interview, but it's chaotic. And we're just okay with that.
Have you sensed any spiritual growth in the congregation or yourself through the changes that you've experienced?
Yeah, no doubt. All you have to do is look at somebody who was addicted to heroin for 10 years, and then to see them be married, do their wedding, and then have a child on the way, and have a job and actually hold it down, and you see the transformation there. You can look at people who felt isolated from the church, and that they weren't supposed to be a part of a community, or that they were burned by the church, that are here and now they're in leadership, all these different things, to see. But I have definitely seen a change in sort of the relationships with people, because it's not like, oh, Jared's the guy that I need to flock towards now. It's, hey, there's other people around me. And so a lot of building that community in has really impacted. I love when somebody comes up to me after being here 3 weeks, and they're so busy and entrenched in the relationships with other people that I finally get to meet them after 3 weeks. You know what I mean? I know that some people be like, that's weird because you're supposed to meet them right away, but some people, they're like, hey, I've been coming for a month and we love it and just wanted to say hi. And I'm like,
there you go.
Works for me. I'm like, that works for me. And then I'll see them, and they're hanging out after church, or they're in a 3G, and I'm just like, oh, how'd you get there? And they're like, oh, Pastor Leah plugged us in. So it really does kind of just, after time, it works itself out, and so I love that. I'm not, do I want to know everybody? Yeah, I want to know everybody. I want to talk to them, but the reality is most people aren't really interested, in knowing me, because they got everybody else, and that's beautiful.
Which is, bingo.
I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's beautiful. So I love that. That always makes me feel good,
Well, if you could, and it's probably a hard question to answer, but where do you see God in Christ most visible and vibrant in the life of your ministry right now?
I would say that
all of the above, right?
Yeah, all of the above. I would say that we are, if I had to define, if somebody said, describe your church in one word without using community or intentional, I would say redemptive. And I would say that not because of the people that are just here, from the people who have been on drugs, to the people who, have been through a divorce, to the people who are considering divorce, through the people who are single parents, through the people who are married and are single parents because their husband or wife is absent and absent-minded, to our children. There is just such a sense of redemption in all of that, and that like what is like this broken world and the brokenness that is in this place, that God uses that and He shows Himself through that, and I get to see it every week, and I think that that's a beautiful thing, to have somebody like I said who struggled for a lot of years and just comes back and is now married and kid on the way and nice job and little children who were born in 2011 and are still coming now. To see that growth is amazing. It's a beautiful place. We use the term beauty, like we're beautifully broken, and that God uses our brokenness and our chaos, and He like brings it all together and He makes something really beautiful out of it. And so I think redemption is a big thing here, and people who were far from God, regardless of why it was, whether they just felt disconnected from their church and they just never went back, or people who were far from God because they completely denounced Him, or they never knew about Him. That's my story. I didn't know. I came to Christ when I was 15, and I had no idea who God was. No idea. And it was on a mission trip that I was trying to impress my girlfriend that I experienced who God was for the first time. But I would say we just have a culture of redemption, if that makes sense.
Sure.
A culture of new life and newness and regeneration and transformation, and to not try to use the word that the class is or anything, but that's really what we and who we are. It's just fun to be a part of, So I hope that answers that question.
No, that's
great.
good. What have been the learnings through the process that churches and you have come?
I
think there should be another word there.
Yeah, I know, I didn't like the way that was phrased, but
I would say
Come through or come to or something.
I would say to stop complaining and just do something about it. I know that's kind of strong language, but I tend to make bold statements. So, but I think in the very beginning we complained about what we didn't have, and we had all that we needed, and we just needed to do something with it. And so that's sort of our culture now. It's like, if you want to complain about it, then you should probably be doing something about it. So like, don't complain about the fact that the carpet's dirty. Like, go up there and clean the carpet if it bothers you. Like, I don't care. It's just carpet. Like, feet are on it. It's like, who cares if the system is too loud? Like, it doesn't, like that stuff doesn't matter. Like, do something about it. Like, help us mix it better if you are a sound expert. I think that we are just people that naturally complain about things, because it's easy and it somehow gives us like a validation. And we've literally just demolished that. And it's like, do something about it. If somebody says something, there wasn't enough chairs in the nursery for the kids. I'm like, okay. I'm like, so go find us a good deal on chairs, and she did, and we got chairs, like don't complain about it. Just be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem, and that's really a lot of the things that we do here. We had one lady who, she was cleaning the building, and she complained all the time about how filthy the place was and this and that. And I was like, do you realize what happens during the week? I'm like, we feed 30, 40 kids, 20 to 40 kids a day, get a meal that they might not get at home.
right.
Like, and you're worried about the fluff being taken out of the couch. Like
Mary and Martha. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like be a part of the solution. Like whatever. So so we put some things in place, and so we decided to clean the building more frequently. Like that, such an easy solution. but like be a part of that. Don't be a part of the problem.
And maybe not look at so much at the small stuff, but more of the big picture.
Yeah.
See the big picture of what's going on. I
Mhm.
mean, not that those things aren't important,
Right.
because one of the comments that when we were talking before was sometimes it is the details.
Mhm.
Sometimes you do need the detail work too, and that is a detail. But you have to see the big picture. What's
Yeah.
really going on? What's the purpose?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it is bigger than us, and to really, and even in your context, like, I mean, like, let's stop complaining about what we don't have, and let's work with what we do have,
Yeah.
and do something with it. I mean, all it takes is one crazy person to do it, and maybe you're the crazy people, and I mean, you're in pastoral ministry, so you're already a step above crazy, so you can do something with it, and you can do something about it, so.
Maybe a step closer to
So-
crazy. Well, there's some questions on there, I'm not sure how to necessarily, blessings, frustrations, and major learnings, I think.
Yeah, I mean, frustrations, I mean, just the normal everyday frustrations is,
Kind of what you just shared.
yeah, those are frustrations, those are things, I think, blessings, there's a ton of them, and I think that's kind of an interesting question because it depends on what your perspective is,
Like you said, seeing families grow and
yeah,
being, the redemptive nature of coming back, having a job, having a life.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And so it's looking at, like blessings, it just depends on how you want to look at it, because there's blessing and frustrations. You can focus on either one of those. So
Right.
there's tons on each side. Major learnings, to just like stop complaining. And God's got you, and God's going to take care of it. That's what I've learned. So we just keep pushing forward. Christian faith as experienced in and through the United Methodist Church. I love everything John Wesley, and people ask me all the time, why are you still in the Methodist Church? Why don't you just, and I'm like, because I think that what the Methodist Church stands for and what it was founded on, if we could just get back to that, if we can get back there, like, we wouldn't have to worry about anything. And I was like, the hard part is getting back there. I mean, John Wesley was, you guys have probably studied him and learned from it. I mean, just everything he did was intentional. Everything he did was community oriented. Everything he did was this is why we do, and that's if we can get back to that and really get back to the Wesleyan tradition, like, we'd be all right. And that's what I try to model here as much as possible.
Yeah, I understand the stuff
so,
that you're doing.
Yeah, I
intentional.
just don't give it, that language, but we really try to model that. And so the reason I'm still United Methodist is because I just believe in who we are, and I think we'll get there. We just need to stop looking in the wrong places.
Get those 3 simple rules.
That's it. Yeah, that's right. Do no harm, do good, and stay with God.
So go ahead, you got the questions. What else?
Yeah. What leadership is necessary right now to maintain or enhance your current model of ministry? I don't want to keep using the same word, but I would say intensity, focus. I mean, people know, like, when my door's shut to not bother me, because I'm kind of in a mode, you know what I mean? And so they know. Most of the time, if it's open, if people just walk in and out. But if my door's shut, it's like, all right, we'll get back to him later. Because that's just how I process. And I'm very intense. I'm very focused. I don't want to say I bulldoze people, but if people don't know me, it could be looked at that way. And somebody said that to me, so I'm almost just saying verbatim what they said. But I'm just intense. I just know what I need to do, and I know what needs to get done. Driven, yeah, motivated. Whatever other word would give that justice. But very, very just like, I just know what needs to get done, and I'll do it. Like, it's not uncommon for me to be stacking chairs, and running the vacuum, because, like, people are not wanting to do something, you know what I mean? And instead of being like, the dictator who's yelling, I'll just do it, and then obviously people start trickling over and start doing it, but it's like, I'm just going to get it done, whatever needs done, I'm going to get it done.
Something about servant leadership there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing that that is one thing that if I'd ever teach somebody leadership, if I would ever have the opportunity to do that, I would say the old adage: if you're not willing to do it, and you're not willing to take the time to do it, then don't expect anybody else to do it.
Right.
I mean, the reason that we break down in 10 minutes and this building is clean is because I did it for months and months and months and months and months, and still do it for every event. Pastor Jared's on the vacuum. Pastor Jared's carrying tables. I mean, it's just the way that it is, and
Yes.
people know that, and so people have caught on to that that's just what you do. So.
Okay. What specific area or need in your ministry would you pray for the Holy Spirit to touch right now?
I think continued boldness. I think that's one thing that I think people in the very beginning of their walk with the Lord is they're very bold and on fire, and then it just kind of becomes like just a part of who you are, and it should never do that. But just more of I don't even know if boldness is the right word, but I would say boldness into just continue to live into, who God has called you to be, but also just to stay on fire for the Lord and just keep that flame going, fanning that flame. Because we have a lot of people who, like I said, growing pains, they're just comfortable, like we like it the way it is, and they're not even like uncomfortable with new people showing up. It's more they're just stagnant, and what happens to stagnant water is it starts to stink after a while, so don't get stinky, So.
Heard that before.
Yeah, that's right. Brochures, materials, diagrams, I gave you all that stuff. We lost our website at the beginning of the week, but we found it again, so there was some coding or something wrong with it, and so it's not the Project 614 one. It's that 614churchyo.com. There's just a lot of information. We're still updating that. We have the app, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff.
Speaking of the 614 project,
Mm-hmm.
We read something when we were back at class last Saturday about dollar days.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
And that was a key thing we picked up on with thinking toward our presentation.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about
Yeah.
dollar days?
What dollar days are we collect $1 from everybody that's there. So we do our regular offering, and then we actually pass another basket. And we're actually doing one tomorrow. But what a dollar day is it's a day where you bring an extra $1, we collect all that money, and then we do something in the community with it. So I've stood at a gas station before and filled up people's cars with what we collected. And like some people are like, that's weird, but I'll take it. And then some people like start bawling, you know what I mean? Because they're like, I don't know, like I was going to bounce my account to put gas in the car, And we've bought gift cards for people to like Dunkin' Donuts, like $5, $10 gift cards. You know what I mean? To like go and to get coffee. We've went through the drive-through, and we've went on the Dunkin' app, and we've bought like $60 worth of Dunkin' cards. And all you got to do is screenshot the thing that they scan, and then people would just go through and get coffee and food and whatever they would need. We went to Walmart, and we've given workers cards, because like if you want to meet unhappy workers, like go to Walmart, and they need a sense of hope there, because I mean like they're just mean, and I don't blame them, but I mean I'm just like, whew. So we went there and we've like given them gift cards
Extra
and
grace.
yeah, here you go, we love you.